I want to start by being very clear with Memphis this morning. We are facing a weather event that has the potential to be serious.
We are bracing for the storm. The Mid-South is preparing for the potential of snow, sleet, and ice.
That's right. Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi have all declared a state of emergency in anticipation of this storm. MLGW is making it clear there will be power outages. All right, thank you so much for joining us on this extended winter weather coverage on 24+. I'm Ruben Diaz.
And I'm Pepper Baker. Now, it has been days of preparation for this storm that's expected to hit the Mid-South in just a matter of hours. The message from city, county, and state leaders is to be prepared to stay inside. So let's get over to Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett for the latest on the storm's path. Trevor.
Yeah, hey there, Ruben and Pepper. We are obviously still all over this developing situation. We are watching our storm come in. We can see it now on radar back in Texas. Some rain, some sleet already showing up back there. So it is there. It is headed in our direction. We still have to wait and see what's going to fall where. Now, the bottom line is everybody sees an impact. This is going to start late tonight, and then it's going to go into Saturday and Sunday as well. Significant winter storm with a mix of sleet, snow, and ice. Depending on where you are, you could see a mix of everything. We'll talk about that. But regardless of what you're going to see, everybody can expect travel impacts from this. Regardless of where you're watching from, we do expect major impacts to travel and a potential of power outages. Here's our latest forecast. It has not changed much. We are still thinking mainly snow with some sleet mixing in off to the north. Jonesboro, Blytheville, Dyersburg, probably going to see more snow than anything else. Maybe a little sleet at times. You get a little further south and there's this transition zone. This is such a tough forecast because we have 3 different zones right over our area. So thank you for bearing with us. I know this has been shifting a little bit, but I promise you we're doing the best we can. I still think Memphis and along Interstate 40, that's going to be more of a sleet and snow mix. And then down into North Mississippi, that's where we expect that ice storm to develop with significant ice accumulations and major impacts from Batesville to Oxford up to Corinth and maybe even Selmer. The million-dollar question is, how far north does this ice come? Sleet and snow is going to be disruptive for Memphis. It's going to ice up on the roadways. It's going to cause issues. But if we get this ice storm creeping any further north, it is going to make a bad situation even worse. So I caution you, again, we're still thinking mainly sleet and snow in Memphis, but I would prepare just in case that ice does start to slide a little bit further north. It is so close. Right now, the models are showing that dividing line through DeSoto County. So that can move a little bit further north and put us in a position where it's a lot more ice than anything. So it's better to be prepared and maybe have some extra supplies that you're not going to use. I'd rather you be prepared for that. Today still looks dry. This is not going to start until 11 o'clock or midnight tonight. So we have several more hours if you need to go out. Go to the store, get what you need for a few days. You don't need to prepare for the end of the world, but get a couple of items to last you because it is going to be continuing through the weekend. Sleet, snow, freezing rain, all of the above. Saturday into Sunday, notice temperatures well below freezing with highs around 20 degrees. So not only the sleet, snow, and ice and the winter storm, but also the bitter cold going to cause issues. Our winter storm alerts have not changed. It's still a winter storm warning for eastern Arkansas, western Tennessee, and the Mississippi Delta, including DeSoto County. That pink shade is where we expect a little bit more of a mix of snow, sleet, and maybe some freezing rain. Purple is your ice storm warning. That's where we mainly expect freezing rain, and that's where we expect the biggest impacts from the ice storm. So again, that ice storm warning, not including Memphis or DeSoto County yet, but it's such a close line. If you're in the metro, you might want to prepare for ice just to be safe. Again, there's snow, sleet. That's the little ice pellets that fall already frozen. We hope for that, because sleet is, I mean, it's tough. It's going to cause issues on the roadways, but sleet does not pile up on the power lines. Sleet does not necessarily cause power outages. Freezing rain, where it piles up on the power lines and the branches, that's when stuff starts to fall down. And usually with freezing rain, we see significant impacts in the way of power outages and travel issues that last a lot longer. Here's our latest hour-by-hour radar. Again, right now we're nice and clear. Temperatures are dropping already, so we're going to be in the 20s by midnight as this first begins. Blue is snow. Pink is the sleet. So this could actually start off as a little bit of snow in Memphis tomorrow morning. West Tennessee mainly seeing snow by about 5 a.m. More sleet into North Mississippi at first, but that sleet starts to spread to the north. By midday tomorrow, Memphis becomes mainly sleet pellets. Still snow up in Dyersburg and Truman, but eventually we become more sleet and even some of that freezing rain, that ice starts to come in. Corinth, Oxford, Batesville, by tomorrow afternoon, that's where it's going to be raining, but freezing into ice as it hits the ground. Notice how that mainly stays in North Mississippi. It does include Hardeman and McNairy County, but it gets so close to Memphis tomorrow night, that line between a lot of sleet and a big-time ice storm. It is such a close call. The models are not good enough. As forecasting has gotten better, the models cannot determine a difference of 20 miles. This line could be a little further this way. It could be a little further the other way. It's better to prepare for ice if you're in Memphis. I think we at least see a little bit, but depending on how much is going to determine how big of the impact. Sunday morning, we get another round of sleet, snow, freezing rain before it tapers off. I think by midday Sunday, this all clears out of here, but the impacts are going to last longer. Still thinking 3 to 5 inches of snow and sleet mix in Memphis, probably more sleet than anything else. But again, I think we'll start off with a little snow tomorrow morning. Higher amounts to the north where it's mainly snow. Truman, Dyersburg, Blytheville could see 4 to 7 inches of snow, maybe a little more. Lower amounts to the south where we mainly expect that ice storm. 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulation throughout North Mississippi into Hardeman and McNairy County. That is plenty to do major damage and cause big time issues. Memphis right now expecting at least a trace of some ice accumulation. But again, look how close that is. If this gets any further north, it could spell a big time issue for Memphis. This is already going to be a messy storm for us with snow and sleet. If we start adding more ice in, it's going to prolong our issues. Already with 1/10 of an inch of ice, like in Memphis, we're going to glaze over on the roadways and the sidewalks. You get to 1/4 of an inch of ice. That's when tree limbs start to sag and break. You start getting a lot of power outages because those power lines are getting weighed down by the ice. 1/2 inch of ice or more, which is certainly possible in North Mississippi this weekend, especially Oxford to Corinth and Holly Springs. That's when power poles start to snap. Entire trees start to crack under the weight of the ice. And if every power line comes down, that means power outages are going to be more widespread and they are going to last longer. To make matters worse, we're facing bitter cold this weekend. Highs in the 20s, just about 20. And I don't think we get above freezing hardly at all next week. We get to 32 Wednesday, but then it looks like it gets colder again by Thursday and Friday. Wind chills are also going to be a big issue through the weekend as the winter storm rolls through. It is going to be breezy, wind chills in the single digits, maybe below 0. And then once this clears out Sunday, it really gets even colder. So we got to think about people that might be losing power. Monday morning, the storm will be done, but -4 on the wind chill in Memphis. Tuesday morning, I think, is the coldest. Wind chills could be below 15, below 0 because of how cold it's going to be. So make a plan now for power outages, especially in North Mississippi, and be prepared to be without power for several days. Because again, if we get a big ice storm, it's not going to be easy to get those lines cleared up. This continues Saturday and Sunday. That winter storm will all see a mix of snow, sleet, or ice, depending on where you are. Notice your highs in the 20s. 5 degrees Monday morning with a high of 22 Tuesday morning. That's when our wind chills could be 15 below 0. 29 the high Tuesday afternoon. Not much melting because we're still below freezing. We might touch freezing Wednesday afternoon, but then it gets colder again by the end of the week with highs in the mid-20s, lows in the teens through at least Friday and maybe into next weekend.
Wow, thanks a lot, Trevor. There's a lot of information.
We are in for a long one.
Yeah, so ABC 24, by the way, has teams all across the Mid-South who are ready to show you the conditions as they change throughout the weekend. We have you covered from Oxford to Memphis, as far north as Dyersburg.
You see Lauren Turman there, and that's where we begin our team coverage. She is live in downtown Memphis with the city's response to the storm. Lauren, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Pepper. Like you said, I'm down here in downtown Memphis. You can see the M Bridge right behind me here. And city officials have been, of course, preparing for this over the past several days. Right now, as we just heard from Trevor, we're not seeing that winter storm rolling in just yet, but it's very windy and very cold out here at this moment. Now, the primary thing that I want to emphasize to you all right now is how much the tone of urgency has shifted just in the past 24 hours from what we were hearing earlier in the week from city officials. We heard from MLGW. We also heard today from Mayor Paul Young, who spoke out for the first time regarding their winter preparedness plan since all of this really started happening. But again, a real tone shift from a lot of city officials and state officials in just the last few hours, really emphasizing the urgency and seriousness of this storm. Now, again, Mayor Paul Young, as well as several other city officials, had a press conference earlier this morning detailing their plan of preparedness, talking about making sure roads are salted, making sure that everybody is prepared for the conditions that this could potentially bring, and also, of course, making sure that people are staying as safe as possible and taking care of one another. You just heard from Trevor there that here in Memphis, sleet and snow and a mix of that could potentially be the biggest problem here in Memphis. And so, of course, that brings a real possibility of utility issues and power lines being down, and that has been the biggest problem and biggest point of concern for many of these city officials, including Mayor Paul Young. So I want to take you to a little bit of what he said earlier today in this press conference as well, and talk a little bit more about that. I believe we have that as of right now, but he did talk a lot more about what the city is planning to do and what this plan of action looks like. Take a listen.
We don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, but the potential demands preparation, and we want our community to be very cautious. Ice accumulation is our greatest concern at this moment. Ice on the roads, trees, and power line create dangerous and unpredictable conditions. Unlike snow, the ice cannot be plowed, and even the treated roads, which our teams are out treating right now, can become unsafe very, very quickly. In anticipation of these conditions, we have activated the city's winter readiness plan. Teams across city government are fully engaged. We were meeting right here in this very room this morning, and we were coordinating to protect the public safety and maintain essential services as the conditions allow. Our crews are pre-positioning equipment, monitoring the conditions in real time, and preparing to respond where and when it is safe to do so. It's important that we understand that during peak ice conditions, response capabilities are going to be limited. That's why preparation and prevention matter so much right now. Residents should take steps to prepare their household, protect their homes, and they should plan for potential disruptions.
And so you just heard it from the mayor there. Of course, with a storm of this size, there is a very large collaborative effort that has to take place to make sure that everyone remains as safe as possible. And if and when those power outages happen, that it can be restored as quickly as possible. Coming up a little bit later this afternoon, I'm going to walk you through MLGW's response to all of this and how their tone of urgency has shifted from when I spoke with them just a few days ago to what they have been saying since yesterday and today, and how they're expecting all of this to play out in Memphis. I'll bring that to you all a little bit later. But for now, in downtown Memphis, I'm Lauren Turman.
Great information there, Lauren. Thank you. Now, as a reminder, you can send us your weather photos, scan the QR code you see on your screen, and send it to our Facebook group.
Yeah, you see, that helps keep people in the know about what's going on in specific areas. It can actually help keep people safe as well. Remember, that information is power. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Well, as our meteorologists continue to track the forecast, it looks like Mississippi, northern Mississippi in particular, might get hit with some of that ice. So over in DeSoto County, leaders say it is an all hands on deck situation.
Yeah, and public safety agencies across the county will be fully staffed, ready to respond to these wintry mixed conditions, and there's going to be a lot to respond to.
That's right. ABC 24's Shakina Davis picks up our live team coverage from a community safe room in South Haven where residents can go to escape the cold. Shakina.
Yes, Pepper, as you just mentioned, I am at the community safe room / FEMA shelter here in South Haven, where there's already half a dozen people already taking shelter as we prepare for those winter storms that's expected this weekend. Many shelters here within Mississippi, the DeSoto County and throughout the Mid-South are open during this time, just welcoming people in. As you can see, just have open space for anyone from the public to come in. This is off Highway 51 in South Haven, right in front of the South Haven Arena and near the police substation here. Again, we were able to speak with some snowplowers who are stationed in this area, who are saying that they're also on standby to take action as the storm enters in that's expected. And also the city, they were speaking with us as well. We were able to speak with the mayor about how they're preparing. He says that everyone is on standby. The police, along with fire department and any of their crews, public works will also be out treating the area. So we'll have more from the mayor coming up.
All right, Shakina, thank you for that update. Here is a live look at East Memphis's Clark Tower. This is the calm before the storm. We are just hours away from that winter precipitation from falling. We're going to be right back with more news on the other side of the break.
All right, with this winter weather moving in, Arkansas is putting extra help on the roads in preparation. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders deployed nearly 170 members of the Arkansas National Guard and did that today. They'll help rescue stranded drivers, support state police, and clear debris if needed. All of this to keep people safe as these road conditions worsen.
Now, as the winter storm moves in, there is a growing concern beyond the roads. That's making sure seniors have enough food. Across Arkansas, Meals on Wheels and food banks are rushing to deliver meals before conditions get worse. And that's especially important since many seniors may not be able to get to the store or receive deliveries once the storm hits. Some groups have already dropped off extra shelf-stable food in case power goes out or roads become impassable. At the Arkansas Food Bank, deliveries were moved up to today, but leaders say dozens of seniors still need a volunteer to get food to them. They are also asking everyone to check in on neighbors as the storm approaches.
All right, so roads across the natural state could get dangerous fast, and officials tell us the best advice is pretty simple. If you don't need to drive, stay home. Tow truck crews will still be out helping stranded drivers, but they're asking for your help as well. Drivers are urged to slow down and move over when you see those flashing lights. Tow trucks are emergency vehicles and often work right alongside police, fire, and EMS. Crews say they're ready for the storm, but response times could be slower if those conditions get worse. If you do head out, keep your phone charged, have plenty of gas, and bring a blanket just in case.
Now, if you had county business planned for Monday, here's a heads up. Because of expected winter weather, the Shelby County Register of Deeds and Archives will be closed January 26th. So that includes the downtown Shelby Drive and Mullins Station locations. Many services are still available online, so you can take care of what you need without actually heading out in those dangerous conditions.
Only we could do that here. But no, we'll have to be here. All right, heads up for families across Memphis this evening. Memphis Shelby County Schools says all after-school activities and athletic events have been canceled tonight because of the weather. That includes games, practices, and any school-based programs that were scheduled after classes. Y-Care and school-age childcare will remain open, but just until 6, giving parents time to pick up their kids. District leaders urge families to use caution on the roads and stay alert for any additional updates that might come.
Now, as that winter weather moves in, local hospitals say that they are ready. Baptist Memorial Healthcare says its hospitals will stay open and staffed through the storm to care for patients who need help. Staff members are preparing supplies, and some are even staying overnight, so care that can continue no matter the conditions.
All right, it doesn't look it right now. You see a little sunshine, and you would never know that it's about to get bad out here, but we've been warning you for days. Taking a live look outside right now at the flyover. We'll be back with more news and weather after this.
And with the extreme cold and those icy conditions moving into the Mid-South, first responders are standing by to help in case of emergencies, but the dangerous roads could slow down response times.
That's important to note. If you go out, you are running the risk of taking a while before you could get help. Our Ezekiel Telemaco was at the Shelby County Fire Department with how crews are planning ahead to try to keep everybody safe.
When weather becomes a threat, emergencies do not take a break, and that's why the Shelby County Fire Department wants everybody to know it could take longer for them to respond to keep themselves and, more importantly, others on the road safe.
Expect a response time that will be a little bit longer because we have to slow down. And remember, if you're in a big fire engine, that thing can weigh over 85,000 pounds.
Brent Perkins is also driving home the message that leaders across the Mid-South are stressing, which is stay off the roads if you can.
The city streets and surfaces get a lot more traffic than we get out in the county sometimes, and some of those roads can be pretty dangerous. So we're recommending that for this storm event, if you don't have to go out, you need to stay home.
And with the possibility of power outages, people turn to generators to get their lights and heat back on. But Perkins warns this can be a dangerous alternative if you're not careful.
If you decide to use a generator, know the precautions about it, read about it, and do not bring them in the house. They are made to work 15 or 20 feet away from the structure out in the open because they will create poisonous gas and fill the house, and you can die from it.
Eric Almquist, District Operations Director of Cantor Power Systems, which installs power generators across Tennessee and throughout the Mid-South, says carbon monoxide is not the only risk that people need to think about.
Aside from carbon monoxide that we're talking about, sizing the generator matters. We've had people's houses start on fire because they weren't aware that the undersized generator could essentially cause wires to melt inside the house, trying to overload them, heating with space heaters.
Another major concern, when temperatures dip below freezing for days at a time, pipes can burst and cause flooding. That's why knowing what to do ahead of time is essential, especially during severe weather storms.
Know how to shut the water off at your property. Go out tonight and locate that water meter. Know where the water meter is. Know how to get in there, possibly even go to the hardware store and get a water key and practice turning your water off, because as these temperatures drop and we go into these single digits and we stay there for 70 or 75 hours, that's a deep freeze cycle, and if there's no power in that house, the lines are going to freeze. So as the temperatures then rise and these lines begin to thaw, that's when the water leaks occur.
For non-emergency questions, the Shelby County Fire Department says that you can reach out to them at 901-279-7625.
Some great information there, things you can definitely be aware of as this storm approaches and then hits and lasts. This cold weather is going to last for several days.
It sure is. We're going to talk to TDOT on the other side of the break, who's going to tell us how they're preparing to keep you safe on the roads.
Right, obviously we're doing this
special edition
of the show because of the winter weather. You can hear myself a little bit in there. But the storm conditions can make the roads a little bit dangerous.
That's right. And joining us now is Nicole Lawrence with TDOT, breaking down the plan and what drivers need to know. So Nicole, good evening. Thank you for joining us. First off, explain the difference in treating ice versus sleet and snow.
You know, we all have to use a little bit of salt brine. We have to use some additives when that temperature gets below that 16-degree mark, whether it's calcium chloride or a byproduct of potatoes that we call potato juice. We use all of the tools that are in our toolbox.
Nicole, you just said something I think a lot of people might be unsure about. You just said potato juice. Can you explain what that is to the people at home?
Yes, the byproduct of the potato juice, it is just a byproduct of potato juice. It lowers the freezing temperature of water so that it helps not freeze when it's on the ground.
Yeah, I have to say I didn't actually really know that until you said something. But I want to know, or I think people need to know the difference between what is in TDOT's control versus what might be in other city jurisdictions as far as the road. So what are you all responsible for treating, and what can people expect from more remote roads?
Right, so we are responsible for the interstates and the state routes. The interstate will be our focus during this event, especially if it's as bad as we might expect. So we will make sure that main focus is on that interstate. Of course, in the Memphis area, bridges, overpasses, our flyovers, they're going to freeze first. So we strategically place some of our equipment and some of our personnel in those areas so that they can react quickly and help in any incidents that may come up.
Nicole, when should people expect to start seeing, obviously there have been some crews out and about, but when should people expect to start seeing those crews actually getting towards the treatment as that storm gets ready to move in?
Right, well, that's really going to depend on the event itself. Now, our crews are coming in around midnight, 2 a.m. tonight to make sure that everyone is positioned and ready to go once that event does begin.
And we are expecting this to have lasting effects because of the So do you have a timeline if people do have to go back to work come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, about what they should expect when they're driving out on those roads?
They should expect to give us some grace and have some patience with us and themselves. With the temperatures being as low as they're predicted, it could be a few days to get all of the lanes and all of the roads clear. In West Tennessee, we cover around 10,000 lane miles. So, just 1 mile down the interstate of I-40, depending on where you are, if it's 2 lanes, 1 mile is 2 miles because we have to cover both lanes. So it's going to take us a little time, and then to get transition down to the state route. So it'll take us a little time.
And I know we have to let you go soon, but just wanted to ask, how difficult is this for your planning with this unknown where this ice versus sleet versus snow line is going to actually end up being? Because again, you're covering Tennessee highways.
Right, and we're also planning for that ice so that we have to make sure our chainsaws are ready and everything that goes along with clearing the road, not only for snow, but for down trees or down power lines if we're assisting any utility partners.
All right, we know you're extremely busy, Nicole. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us and our viewers. That information is very critical at this time, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, let's take another break. When we come back, we'll have more information on how you can best prepare for this winter storm. All right, if you use public transit this weekend, here's what you're going to need to know. First off, the Memphis Area Transit Authority is switching to a winter weather plan for Saturday. This is what we've been told right now. That means that limited bus service is going to be on select snow routes from 7 in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening. Trolley service and on-demand rides will be suspended, but MATA Plus will still run essential trips. Riders are encouraged, though, to check the routes before heading out. Stay alert for updates as conditions change.
And this dangerous winter weather is already disrupting travel nationwide, and it could affect Mid-South travelers this weekend. According to FlightAware, thousands of flights have already been delayed or canceled, with more changes expected as the storm spreads. Major airlines, including American Airlines, Delta Airlines, and Southwest Airlines, are adjusting schedules and waiving some rebooking fees. If your flight is canceled, the U.S. Department of Transportation says you are entitled to a refund if you choose not to rebook.
All right, the Tennessee Highway Patrol is urging drivers to think twice before you head out. Snow, ice, and strong winds could make roads dangerous. If you don't have to drive, the troopers want you to stay off the roads. If you do go, though, you need to be prepared. What does that mean? That means recommend keeping at least a half a tank of gas in your car, checking your battery and your tires, and packing some basics like blankets, jumper cables, food, water, and a phone charger. Also, slow down, leave extra space between cars, and try to avoid those distractions. Don't be on your phone driving in the snow. If your car does break down, turn on your hazard lights and stay inside if it's safe. For help, you can call 847, that's THP, or 911 if it's an emergency.
All right, here's a live look at the flyover. Everybody's trying to get home before this winter weather makes its way in, because this is the calm before the storm. We are back after we take a short break.
All right, so we have been covering this winter weather storm as it gets ready to approach, late tonight, early tomorrow morning is when you should start to see the impact as it hits the area.
And we're covering it from all sides. And the people that we need to hear from, obviously, are the city, county, and state leaders. And that's where we're going to turn it now to our Lauren Turman, who has been tracking what the emergency personnel and leaders of our area have been saying, how they've prepared for this storm. Lauren.
That's right, Pepper. We have been talking, of course, to those city officials, as you have mentioned. And earlier I told you about the difference in the tone and the notes of urgencies as this storm is expected to move in the next couple of hours here. So I specifically want to talk to you about the response from Memphis Light, Gas and Water, because I spoke with them just a couple of days ago. They had a Q&A about what was going to be happening in this storm and what was going to be happening specifically for Memphis residents with a large potential of power outages in this storm. A couple of days ago, we were told by Vice President of Corporate Communications, Ursula Madden, that there would be 75 crews, mainly consisting of electrical crews and contractors, out on Memphis's roads for the duration of this storm and out on the surrounding area as well. Now that has increased to 95 crews. Back when it was 75, that had doubled their workforce. But now, with those 95 crews, you are seeing how much more expectant they are about the severity of this storm and what it could bring. There will also be an additional 80 tree trimming crews that increased by about 5 crews around the Memphis area as well, specifically when it comes to emergency response and any emergency services that need to be rendered when it comes to all of this as well. They're also saying this is not a matter of if, but when these power outages happen. They are expecting widespread power outages across the Memphis area as well. They're saying that people need to make sure they stay prepared, making sure they have enough food, water, medicine, other resources that they or their loved ones may need. They also talked about filling up bathtubs and deep sinks and other large buckets to make sure that everybody has enough water on standby so they can continue to do things like flushing their toilets. They don't want it to turn from one very large widespread problem to another. So of course, with the potential of sleet and snow in this area, that is going to weigh very heavily on power lines. We heard it from Chief Meteorologist Trevor Burchett earlier. That could bring the potential, depending on how much weighs on that, according to President and CEO Doug McGowan, of about 1,000 pounds on these power lines, depending on how much ice may be on them. So of course, a very big deal here. I want to take you to more of what President and CEO Doug McGowan said at that press conference with Mayor Paul Young earlier. Take a listen.
With respect to ice, that is our primary threat for the electric distribution system. We are forecast to have between 1/4 and 1/2 inch of ice. Customers should expect some power outages with that amount of ice because it will weigh the power lines and the trees down. We are on the cusp of more than 1/2 inch of ice. Should the front move slightly northward, we could accumulate more than 1/2 inch, and that's when you should expect widespread power outages because of the weight of the ice on those power lines and the trees. 1/2 inch of ice can add 1,000 pounds to a stretch of power line. You can imagine what the kind of damage that does. On the water side, persistent cold temperatures and lack of electricity can affect our ability to effectively pump water through those water mains. And also, prevalent cold temperatures will cause residential and commercial customers' pipes to freeze. That's why we ask all of you to please take precautions, because when that happens, there's a break in the pipe and the water pressure drops. While we might have plenty of water, the pressure drops to the point where we can't distribute it. So it's important for people to be prepared for, not just prepare for, but expect there to be some impacts to your electric availability. Expect that there could be some disruptions to your normal water supply. What are we asking you to do? Really good guidance about how to stay warm and what to do in your home with lack of electric power. But for the water side, make sure you have drinking water for your family and your pets. But the other thing I want you to do is prepare by having either some buckets, trash cans, your tub, or a deep sink filled with water so that you can also flush commodes. We don't want to pivot from one emergency to another because we have failed to prepare for that.
So, of course, the increase from 75 electrical crews and contracting crews to 95 at this point, and that might even increase over the next couple of days, is obviously very big and goes to show everybody about the severity of what this storm may bring. And I will be sure to give you continuous updates about what MLGW is saying about those power outages, what we're seeing in downtown Memphis and across other neighborhoods and communities in the Memphis area, so that hopefully everybody can continue to be as safe as possible, and if it comes to that, get their power restored as quickly as possible. In downtown Memphis, I'm Lauren Turman.
Absolutely great job, Lauren. Appreciate all of that information and the updated numbers on the crews that are going to be working. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have much more as we get ready for this winter storm.
So not too far from DeSoto County and Lafayette County, preparations are underway for the winter storm.
So, in fact, the University of Mississippi, better known as Ole Miss, has already made the decision to shut down campus on Monday.
That's
Get
right.
Way ahead. ABC 24's Desmond Nugent continues our live team coverage at the county's Emergency Management Center with how the area is preparing. Desmond?
Ruben, as you said, we are here in Lafayette County, and I'm actually here with Bo Moore with Lafayette County Services. We're hearing that this is supposed to be the worst of the worst. Talk to me just about how you guys are preparing for this particular weather system.
Yeah, all our agencies have all been working together to have a plan for the ice that we know that we're going to see. You know it's going to be real bad here, and our agency, along with the Sheriff's Office, Fire Department, Roads Department, are prepared to respond as soon as this event begins and during and after.
And speaking of which, how soon are we expecting to have this winter weather come in? Do we know?
Well, I think your meteorologist would probably be the best person to ask on that. But from everything that we've indicated from the National Weather Service, will probably be really early Saturday morning before dawn, and then it will really get more intense mid-morning through middle of the day.
There's a lot of machinery here, kind of just explain what's over here right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of machinery here, but this is a small complement of what we have. This is some specialized snow removal equipment that we'll have for emergency services to respond to 911 calls. We have generators, light towers that have generators on them too as well. So for people that are in extreme need, like medical devices that might need to be powered by electricity, if we lose power, we can help those folks in need.
One of the things last I want to ask you, Mr. Moore, is when's the last time we actually had a weather situation like this? And it says something that was just all hands on deck situation like this.
So we are seeing more winter weather every year in Lafayette County. However, something to this great impact and this extent, we'd probably have to look back to the ice storm of '94 that a lot of people are referencing. So our county, for the amount of power that we could potentially lose and the length, it's been a long time.
I know that's one of the last things I want to ask you, but something I think the viewers should want to hear about is, for those who have to get out, what's the best way for them to stay as safe as possible? What are some of those tips that they should know?
Yeah, well, I'd say don't. But if you absolutely have to, make sure that your phone is charged, that you've told somebody where you're going and when you should be there, and that you have extra warm clothes and water in your vehicle in case you get stuck.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moore, for your time. He said it best, to make sure that you get everything that you need, get it before tonight. He said it, it's plain as day. If you don't have to get out, please don't get out. We will be back at 5 o'clock to speak to Mr. Moore about more information before the winter storm hits. For now, we're live in Lafayette County. I'm Desmond Nugent, ABC 24 News.
All right, some really good information there from Lafayette County, much needed, and they're going to have their hands full with potentially this ice.
Most definitely, and our meteorologists are tracking that very closely. Now, when we come back, we're going to have a couple more stories for you, so stick with us. particularly about the ice storm of 94.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm new to the area, so don't know enough about it, but you've mentioned it a couple of times.
And so have the emergency leaders. We just heard Bo Moore from Lafayette County with Desmond Nugent, who mentioned that as well. But Trevor knows about it from being from this area. So Trevor, is it like are we anticipating the same impact?
I think it's safe to say there's nothing like the ice storm of 94, right? If you were here in 94, you remember that, you know how long the power outages lasted. I think for a lot of people, though, when you say ice storm, you jump to 94. That's the one that's like in the record book. Is this as bad as 94? This does not look anywhere nearly as bad as 1994. Now, here's the thing. 94, some spots had 6 inches of ice, just a chunk of ice on everything.
Yikes.
Power was out for 2 months for some people.
Wow.
And this was in the coldest time of the year. I mean, Memphis literally froze over. People did not go anywhere. With this system, if we could take Max 1, I can show you, we're looking at a ½ inch to an inch of ice. Now, that is bad enough. Don't get me wrong. This is going to be a really bad ice storm for North Mississippi. 1/4 to a ½ inch of ice is plenty to knock things down and tear things down. I want to show you these ice impacts. 1/10 of an inch of ice, that's probably what we're going to get in Memphis. It's going to glaze over. 1/4 of an inch of ice, that's when branches start to get weighed down. Things start to break. ½ an inch of ice to an inch, that is when entire power poles start to snap, because those power lines are just absolutely weighted down. And that is when we can see those long-term power outages. Think if 80% of power lines in North Mississippi come down. That is going to take quite some time to get back up and running. So what we are looking at in North Mississippi, it's going to be a significant ice storm. I don't want you to, hear me incorrectly here. A ½ an inch of ice is brutal. It is bad. But 94, we had 4 to 6 inches of ice. So not as bad. I don't think it's as long-term of a disruption, but a ½ an inch of ice is still going to be a very long time without power for some
All right,
people.
you heard it from our expert.
Yeah.
So,
And you're going to hear much more coming up at 5 o'clock when we have our ABC 24 News at 5. We'll be back there in just 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 24 Plus app everywhere you stream.